Hey y'all, it's my review for the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. This is episodes 2 and 3. I'm going to try my best and I make this as long as hell. I'm going to try to keep it in the 35-minute range, hopefully. It's just so much happens on every episode. Like, I am enjoying this season so much, I still can't wait to get to episode 4. And I'm trying to get, caught up to episode 5. I cannot stand Peacock right now for stressing me out like this. But anyway, let's get into the episode. So episode 2 left off at the dinner where Brandy just told Vicky to shut the F up. After Vicky tells her off, a drunk Brandy just dismisses her and the other ladies just nervously try to change the topic. Once dinner is over, they all get up to go to the patio and then we see Vicky sticking around to talk to Phaedra. Phaedra is just laughing at these crazy white women in her confessional. Again, I love how this is a vacation for the black girls. All they're doing is just playing referee and mediator to the other women. Phaedra then goes in the house upstairs to go check on Brandy, and they're just having a key right now. Phaedra says she actually feels sorry for Brandy and just thinking she feels misunderstood. I disagree. I mean, everybody thinks that at first when they first meet Brandy, but they just had that assumption because it's not them on the other side. Meanwhile, back outside with the other women, they're discussing sex, and Dorinda is clearly lit. Just like Brandy, she needs to go to bed too. Vicky then tells the other ladies that she's done for tonight and she needs to go take her 30-something pills. The other ladies are like, why are you taking so many pills? And, you know, it's Vicky. Like, she always got something wrong with her. I mean, it looks like she gives Lisa Rinna a run for her money on her pill bag. But she starts talking about her health issues, and then COVID comes up because I think she just had it. And then that opens up a dialogue about the vaccine, and now Vicky she's clearly against it, and who's surprised? Who? Really? It's Orange County. That's why I really can't rock with them, because it's like most of them are probably Republican. They probably don't know any black people, and they're just overall problematic. At least New York, they're a little problematic, but most of them are liberal. Well, half are liberal. Dorinda hears this though, and she is not having it. Dorinda is on the side of science, which I agree. Vicky says some BS about being medically exempt from the vaccine, and she doesn't want to talk about it. Dorinda is going ham on her right now, but because it's Vicky, I'll allow it. While she does this, Messy Production gives us a montage of Dorinda's biggest blow-ups, and who can forget her Sonia Reid about comparing her vagina to the Holland Tunnel? What else? You fool! Clip! There were so many, but I just know around season 12, she got like super mean to the point it wasn't fun anymore, because at first it would be people that deserve it. Like in this case with Vicky. Vicky deserves it because she's an idiot for thinking that, and also as a person with the platform she has. The other ladies don't know what to do. They're just looking at each other, and Dorinda storms into the house, makes herself a drink, comes back outside, and apologizes to Vicky. Go to bed, Dorinda. Go to sleep! Go to sleep! Dorinda tells Vicky like she just blew up on her because she lost people to COVID and she's just really passionate about it. And they actually hug it out. Y'all, this is still day one. This is still day one. So it's the next day and we see a sober Dorinda talking to her butler about the itinerary for the day. She's definitely giving camp counselor. She goes upstairs to talk to Brandy, and just an observation of this scene, Brandy is eating in her room, like right in front of Dorinda, but there's no blow up. Now, y'all remember this detail for episode 4. Dorinda is talking to her about the other night, and of course Brandy hardly remembers it. Meanwhile, we're in Vicky and Tamara's room, and Vicky is talking about how she got yelled at by Dorinda and told shut the fuck up by Brandy. She says she's not going to argue with Dorinda in her home, and Brandy, if she apologizes to her, she can kiss her ass. Later on, we see Brandy apologizing to Taylor again, and Taylor just wants Brandy to leave her the fuck alone. And I'm with Taylor, like, girl, leave me be. Like, for the rest of the trip, we don't have to talk to each other. We can just be cordial. So the first activity of the day is mani-pedis. And before that, we get a little scene of Eva and Taylor bonding. And their relationship reminded me last season of Cynthia and Teresa when they were bonding. Like two very different housewives forming an unexpected friendship. So now we see a black car pulling up with dramatic music, and it is Jill Zarin. I am very happy to see Jill Zarin. I've missed her. She has not been on Roni since season 4. As she gets out the car, she goes to the backyard where all the ladies are getting their mani-pedis, and she's like, surprise, I'm here. It's crickets. A little cringe too. Like, Phaedra and Eva don't even know who she is. The surprise definitely fell flat, and did producers in Dorinda like literally try to recreate the scene from Scary Island where Jill just popped up on Bethany and them? Like, in order to get that reference, you have to know Roni from season 3, which was like over a decade ago. So, not the best idea. Like, all that for nothing. They could have left out the pomp and circumstance and just told them, oh, Jill is coming the second day. I honestly think if that was Bethany or even Sonia Morgan, it would have been a completely different response. It would have been like cheering and been like, hey girl, like I can't believe it. But it's Jill, it's just like, okay, hi Jill. Eva says in her confessional, oh, I thought mimosas was coming. Jill is also confused by the reaction because she says she knows half the women and Dorinda knew she was coming. She also complains, season 1 girls, they have to go to Turks and Caicos and we gotta be at Bluestone Manor. Look, Jill, we see each other. I was like, how are they going from Turks and Caicos to that? And then allegedly season 3, they're going to Thailand. Season 2, I guess because it's all ex-housewives, they get the short end of the stick. Either way, I'm excited to see Jill. She's talking to the other ladies and Jill is being Jill right now and talking their heads off. To the point where Dorinda says, Jill, we got it. Okay, go in the house and get unpacked. We will see you later. So a little later, all the ladies are outside for lunch. Jill hasn't joined them yet, but she is the topic of conversation. Dorinda calls Jill a walking QVC because of the combination of her being extremely talkative as well as materialistic. Like right off the bat, you can tell that Jill and Dorinda's relationship is a little contentious. Like Jill low-key annoys Dorinda, but because she's known her so long, she just tolerates it. You know what? I actually have friends like that where, you just known them so long, you know some of the habits that annoy you, but because the pros outweigh the cons, you just tolerate it. Speaking of which, Jill comes down to join them, and again, she's talking their heads off, and Dorinda has to jokingly tell her to calm down, calm down. Next scene, all the ladies are doing this annoying sound bath activity, like they're all just laying on the grass while this man just makes a plethora of noises. This concept is worse than goat yoga. Vicky is not feeling this, and it does look like torture. She just gets up and lies and says she'll be right back. After that excruciating activity, the ladies all have ice cream, and then meanwhile, Tamara goes upstairs to check on Vicky. Vicky's being a total Debbie Downer because of her relationship situation, and I feel bad for Tamara that she feels obligated that she has to babysit Vicky. Dorinda seems fatigued too by Vicky being a Debbie Downer, and also lets her know that she thinks she was cheated on in her relationship. It can't be that he just broke up with her. Next scene, we're with Eve and Taylor, and they're having a true, genuine connection between each other. If you're familiar with their seasons, then you know that they're both survivors of domestic violence and they're sharing their experiences. It's a really touching scene. Taylor gives some new information that she never shared before, and she's talking about a time she was driving with her 5-year-old in the back, and she asked her, does she miss her dad? And she said no. She said, why would I miss someone that was yelling at you all the time? That's the thing. Like, parents think the kids don't know when abuse is going on in the household. They know. They definitely know. Like, just because they're 5-6 years old doesn't mean they can't comprehend what's going on. Next scene is later in the evening and all the ladies are getting ready for dinner. It's also spirit night and the ladies are getting a coffee reading, which is some crackpot fortune telling. We see Vicky again in her confessional complaining about the accommodations, and I see why Dorinda currently hates her. The ladies get to the location and Brandy is starting already. We see her tell Phaedra that the chef that walked by them is definitely a lesbian. They're all doing the coffee readings first before dinner. Side note, I am loving Jill's confessionals. Like, they are just as entertaining as Phaedra's. A lot of ladies think this reading is bullshit. Brandy is talking to Eva and she gets singled out for being rude and talking over the psychic by Vicky, followed by being scolded by Dorinda. Now, to be fair, Eva was talking too, and they didn't tell her anything. They just both jumped down Brandy's throat. So dinner is served, and the ladies that finished their readings are at the table, while Brandy and Eva are still getting their fortunes told. While the female chef is trying to let the ladies know what they're eating, Dorinda tells everyone to pipe down, and then Vicky says, oh yeah, I was just trying to find out why Brandy called her a lesbian. Like, in the earshot of the chef. Which is like so rude. Then we get a flashback by production of Brandy telling the male chef that she thought his wife was a lesbian. Can we please stop humiliating the staff? Please, as someone who worked in hospitality and serving people, can we stop humiliating them? Oh my God. Tamara's confessional, we cut to her and she says, Brandy's the type, like you can dress her up, but you can't take her many places. When I tell you I hollered, like, I'm liking Tamara. Brandy and Eva sit at the table, and Brandy immediately apologized to Dorinda for interrupting the psychic. She gives this excuse about being inside during COVID for a year and a half. We hear Phaedra saying, help her, Lord. And then Brandy has the nerve to say, you know, I'm a polite person. And the look on Dorinda's face is my sentiments. Because Brandy is anything but polite. Brandy, who's clearly tipsy, then wants to talk to all the ladies about their respective seasons. And we can immediately see that Phaedra is not interested in that, for obvious reasons. Tamara then jokes saying that Brandy probably believes everything she's heard in the media about the Housewives. And then Brandy tells her to shut the fuck up. Brandy. And of course, Tamara and Vicky jumped down her throat about that. It's interesting though, because a little earlier, Tamara told Brandy, well, sometimes you just gotta know when to shut the fuck up. Like when they were telling her about how she always puts her foot in her mouth. But Brandy tells her shut the fuck up, I guess, in a different context, and now she's being attacked about it. Just wanted to point that out. Eva feels bad for Brandy and tries to stick up for her when Vicky tries to shut Eva down. Eva then gives her a warning, listen, I'm not the one. I also sincerely hope that the black girls don't coast this season because, you know, the White Housewives don't want to look racist. Anywho, Taylor then jumps in on Brandy saying that you got to stop apologizing and doing the same thing over and over again. Because you're just regressing to that person I was on season 2 with. Right now, it is basically all the white women except Jill versus Brandy. And honestly, I'm taken aback by how quiet Jill is. This is the most quiet she has ever been. So as it looks like Brandy's about to curse Taylor out, Eva then escorts her out the room for a bit to de-escalate the situation. Phaedra follows them, and we again have the black girls being the peacemakers. I'm sorry, but Phaedra and Eva are both enabling Brandy. Like, she put herself in that position to get yelled at by the other women, and she keeps doing it. So I don't feel sorry for her. Meanwhile, back at the table, Dorinda's tipsy now, and she tells the other women, you know, Brandy just isn't as evolved as we are. Wow. She's not as evolved? Tamara's then like, Brandy's almost 50. And I'm like, right, that is a grown-ass woman. She needs to take accountability for her actions. So Brandy, Eva, and Phaedra come back to the table now. It's a little bit more calm. And the topic of conversation is now, why did Brandy call the chef a lesbian? So Phaedra asks her this, and Brandy with a straight face says, oh, I can tell by her eyebrows. Phaedra loses it at the table. It is absolutely ridiculous. I was just surprised there was no backlash on social media, because I would be offended if there was a bunch of women sitting around talking about gay stereotypes amongst men. Eva then tries to clean it up for Brandy, saying she's joking. Brandy with a straight face is like, I'm not joking. I can tell. We cut to her confessional and she doubles down to producers that she can just tell, and it's on a case-by-case basis. I saw her Watch What Happens Live episode where they actually made a game out of that. Andy showed her a bunch of eyebrows and she had to guess if they belonged to a lesbian or not. And I gotta say, Brandy got 90% of them right, and I was just laughing. I'm just really surprised no one found it offensive, but whatever. Taylor is then telling Brandy how inappropriate she's being by telling the man that she thinks his wife is a lesbian. And Brandy flat out lies and says, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Taylor's like, girl, you did. And then production reminds us that she did. Brandy just tells Taylor to shut the fuck up. Taylor goes completely ballistic and says, you listen to me, you little bitch. You're not gonna talk to me like that. Brandy can't even take her seriously. We cut to Brandy's confessional and she says, Taylor's yelling at me and all I see is her and that cat meme. Surely enough, production does a side-by-side and it is spot on. This show is gold. Gold. I like, they need to have a second season with this cast. And not only is Taylor yelling at her, Vicky is too. We then see Phaedra and Eva just bewildered by these white women yelling at each other. Side note, what Phaedra's wearing is very cute. I'm loving this little short little blonde wig and the black dress. Things then calm down a bit at the table, and now we see a drunk Dorinda who was just complaining about Brandy, now defending her against Vicky. And she tells Vicky, I just think you wanted a reason to jump on Brandy. What? I don't want to defend Vicky, but Brandy had it coming. Like, she clearly started that whole yelling match. But anyway, it looks like dinner is over, and as always, the mood has reset, so now all the ladies are just talking amongst each other, and we actually see Taylor and Brandy laughing with Phaedra. And that is where the episode ends. Again, another chaotically fun episode. Let's just get to episode 3. So the episode opens, it's the next morning, and it looks like everyone in the house is woke up by the smoke alarm due to the kitchen staff setting it off. Oh, to be black in that house and have to eat the cooking for 8 days. Ooh, I know it was difficult. Dorinda's going over the day's itinerary with the butler, and he looks like he's constantly walking on eggshells around her. So it's day 3, and I love that they give us timestamps, unlike some shows. Their day, which is printed out on a lovely little chart, it says breakfast, shopping in Great Barrington, lunch, field day, lasagna bake-off, then PJ party and games. So the lasagna bake-off is gonna be between Brandy and Dorinda. Most of the ladies right now are just lounging around. They're talking about the events that happened last night. You have Phaedra, Eva, and Dorinda. They're all talking about how Brandy's misunderstood, how all the ladies just want to jump at her because they don't like her. We're in Tamara and Vicky's room, and Vicky looks like death. Like on top of how she be looking distressed all the time. We're not sure if she has COVID or not, but meanwhile downstairs you have the ladies talking about Vicky, and Eva's saying that she expected like the happy-go-lucky Vicky that she sees on television, and clearly that is not the Vicky now. Honestly, maybe Vicky should just stay her ass home because all she was doing is complaining, talking about how sick she is, how depressed she is because her man left her. It is only day 3. Imagine living with somebody like that for at least 4 more days. It's just a lot of negative energy, so I kind of understand where Dorinda's coming from. Next scene, we see Dorinda prepping her lasagna for the bake-off so she can have a little head start before Brandy. But then we actually see her stealing some of Brandy's ingredients so she could put her at a disadvantage. Not Dorinda cheating. Like, why is she so competitive? And also she has her staff helping her to make her lasagna too. Like, why did she even ask Brandy to participate? She should have just made her lasagna for the other ladies. So later on, the ladies are all heading out to go shopping, and I swear Phaedra has now had 3 different hairstyles in 3 days. I love the extraness. I hope she has 4 more different hairstyles too. First they're at this crystal shop, and then Dorinda wants to go to the liquor store next door. Don't she got enough liquor at her house? Like, why she need to go to the liquor store? Tamara goes with her and then uses this time to call out her flip-flopping last night when she was trying to protect Brandy. I didn't understand that either. Dorinda's excuse is blaming Vicky for being biased against Brandy, so she'll have a reason to go off on her. But on the flip side, isn't Dorinda biased against Vicky, so maybe that's why she's on Brandy's side? Just saying. So now the ladies are off to the dispensary because it's legal there, and Eva is the only one excited to go. I mean, Eva is me right now. She wants to get Taylor high. It seems like she's interested, but all the other women are just giving real ignorant judgments of marijuana. Brandy says in her confessional that she never has to buy marijuana or other drugs because they're always just given to her. I wonder why. So they all head back to the house for lunch, and Vicky's at the table looking like she's about to pass out at any minute. Jill seems very concerned, but Dorinda don't give a fuck. Like, she's tired of Vicky's whining, and it looks like she's getting aggravated at Jill for caring about Vicky's well-being. And I'm just like, why? So the next activity is a field game, and Dorinda's going on like a camp counselor, telling all the ladies they have to participate, and she wants to see them give it their all. The other ladies are just like, okay. Next scene, we're with Eva and Brandy outside getting high. And Brandy's trying to explain to Eva how she's a nice person and she's always misconstrued. Brandy is definitely that friend who you have to give a disclaimer for. Lord, so next scene we're with Tamara and Vicky, and they had to get an on-site medic to check Vicky out. It looks like she wants a steroid shot, but they have to go to the urgent care for that. Tamara lets her know, girl, I'm not going with you to another hospital. And then production shows us a montage of all the times that Vicky has been carried away by an ambulance. I'm not familiar with OC, but wow, like it's at least 4 or 5 times that she has been taken off on a gurney inside of an ambulance. Jill then comes in the room, followed by Dorinda, and Dorinda just looks so annoyed by Vicky's weak state. She says in her confessional that she thinks Jill is just egging Vicky on and just giving it too much attention, while I think that Jill is genuinely concerned. Dorinda really needs to chill out because she's coming off really mean. So then, Vicky is then escorted to urgent care while the other ladies start the field day activity. Eva seems very excited and competitive for this game. She says she's a winner, and that's the callback to her winning America's Next Top Model, which was a really good season back in the day. I think they stopped being good like around cycle 11. After that, that's where they lost me. So it's basically a relay race for the ladies, and of course Eva wins, and she wins some little gift basket. I'm like, last season somebody won a whole trip and a hotel stay. She gets a gift basket? They are really handing the ex-wives the short end of the stick. What's crazy is this season is better than the last one, and they're only 3 episodes in. Later on, we see a few of the ladies outside discussing how Tamara is more fun when Vicky isn't present. And of course, Brandy's leading the charge on this sentiment. I do think Tamara's more concerned with Vicky being okay than being present in the moment with the other ladies in order to cultivate relationships. Tamara then walks up, hearing that she's the topic of the conversation, and she disagrees with them. Thankfully, this did not turn into an argument. Next scene, we're with the very high Brandy as she starts cooking her lasagna for the bake-off. Is she putting celery in lasagna? Like, I'm not really a fan of lasagna, I don't really eat it that much, but I know celery should not go in it. I will say, at least she's cooking the lasagna by herself, unlike Dorinda. Later on, Vicky gets back from urgent care, and she lets us know that she had a sinus infection. A sinus infection does all that. Having her look like the color just washed from her face and she's about to drop dead at the table. That's what a sinus infection looks like. I'm gonna have to Google that. I'm starting to think Vicky's either a hypochondriac or she suffers from Munchausen syndrome. Meanwhile, we're with Brandy hanging out in Eva's room. Eva's talking to her husband on FaceTime and she introduces him to Brandy. Phaedra comes in and it looks like she gave her, Eva, and Brandy a nickname, the Cookout Crew. We ain't inviting Brandy to the cookout. No. Nah. And Brandy's just ecstatic that the black girls in the house like her. So the ladies are all downstairs in their PJs, and this reminds me of last season. I'm gonna need Dorinda or producers to be more creative. So we see Brandy and Vicky trying to make amends, but then Vicky tells her in a weird, aggressive way, "You're not allowed to talk to me like that. Ever. Ever. You're not allowed to talk to me like that." Brandy's trying to make excuses for her behavior again rather than just apologizing to Vicky. After a little back and forth, Brandy finally apologizes, but with the disclaimer that it might happen again, but everyone is relieved. So they all start trying the lasagna that Brandy and Dorinda made, and honestly, neither of them look good. Dorinda's lasagna looks basic as fuck, while Brandy's lasagna looks like a stacked enchilada with red sauce on top. You don't even see the cheese. And again, we see Dorinda putting her fingers in the food. Like just lifting it up with the spatula, touching it with her fingers, doing this, doing it again. I'm like, no. Look, I would be getting Uber Eats every night. Every night. And I'd be like, production, y'all putting that in the budget for me. Brandy's at the table letting the ladies know what she put in her lasagna, and she says lemon juice, sugar, Cabernet, and celery. I'm like, did she get this recipe from Darius Cooks? And Dorinda's just playfully mocking her recipe at the table. They cut to Phaedra's confessional and she delivers the line of the episode. She says, everybody knows if there's a mystery ingredient in a dish, the white lady's gonna put it in there. When I tell you I fell out, I love Phaedra. I've missed her. Her confessionals are just A1. It's then followed by Jill's confessional, and she says, I don't know why Dorinda's throwing stones in glass houses, because her lasagna wasn't that good either. She also says, I don't know why they didn't let me participate. I made good lasagna. And you know what? I believe her. Jill looked like she know how to cook. So now it's game time, and Dorinda has her confessions game while Brandy has her inappropriate games along with inflatable dicks. The ladies, of course, are confused by Brandy's antics once again. So then they start playing her game and they wrap an inflatable dick around their waist while the other ladies have to throw rings on it. So like throwing cock rings on penises. So afterward, they play Dorinda's confessions game. It's Jill's turn. She gets a serious question asking, what is her biggest disappointment in her father? And I'm like, isn't it supposed to be a game night? Why is that question even in there? So she looks like she's about to answer the question, and then Brandy interrupts her and says, Jill, national television. National television. Everyone else in the room is like, she's clearly breaking the fourth wall, but on this franchise, they don't mind breaking the fourth wall at all. Immediately, we can tell Dorinda is annoyed by this, and it starts out as a joke, but then it gets serious because Dorinda says, you know what, I don't even want to play this anymore, and she threatens to, leave the room. I'm guessing to her, Brandy making it seem like she was doing something malicious, like she was trying to set Jill up. It's also her game, too, and Jill clocks in her confessional, if you don't want to do what Dorinda says, she's gonna bite your head off. Now, comparing this with last season, with Cynthia's game, at least Cynthia's game, it was just who do you think is the most prettiest? As compared to this game where it's name the disappointment you have in your father. So I'm kind of on Brandy's side on this. Why is she getting mad at her? It's just a suggestion. Jill could have answered it, and Jill could have just said, I want to skip the question. This is the episode, I would say, where Dorinda is becoming a little bit unlikable. So her and Brandy are going back and forth now. Brandy tells Dorinda that she's acting like a dick, and oh boy, here we go. You can even see on the other women's faces. Dorinda has that flicker rage again. You know she's tipsy right now. And she's like, there she goes. There she goes. Face of an angel, mouth of a serpent. Face of an angel, mouth of a serpent. In this moment, I bet Tamara and Vicky are like, see, we told you. We told you, it's not fun when you're on the other side of Brandy's venom. And all this time, Dorinda was defending Brandy. So thankfully, Dorinda doesn't completely go nuclear, and they go on to the next question, and it's Eva's turn. It has to deal with relationships, and she's talking about her husband, and then Brandy, she's high as well as tipsy. She's interrupting Eva while she's talking, and it's making the moment really awkward. So then she tells Eva in front of all the ladies that, yeah, when you were talking to your husband on FaceTime, I saw him, and while he was talking to you, at first I thought he was a mangina. Eva's like, what's a mangina? Brandy's like, figure it out. But, I just thought he was a mangina at first. Eva does not look amused at all. It's almost like a record scratch. And again, just like Dorinda, she found out how Brandy operates. It's not fun when you're on the other side of it. It's funny that the two people that were defending Brandy were back-to-back insulted by her. Again, all the ladies are just trying to find out what a mangina is. Basically, she was calling her husband a pussy at first, saying he looked like a pussy. They cut to Phaedra in her confessional. She's saying, oh, it looks like Brandy's going to be uninvited from the cookout. That's why I said, she should have never been invited to the cookout in the first place. Brandy realized she fucked up, and she's clumsily trying to explain herself, but it's too late. Eve was already offended. So then the ladies in the game on that awkward note, and luckily for Brandy, Eva didn't blow up on her. Next, we see Dorinda and Eva outside on the patio talking about Brandy. Actually, we see everyone talking about Brandy's behavior as they go in their separate corners. Eva says that this is Brandy's only time trying her. And see, I mean, this is what Brandy does. Like, first she gets real comfortable with you, and then later down the line, she has no problem trying to embarrass or shade you, like she always does. So next we see a Housewives After Dark. We first see Jill talking to herself again. Then we're with Brandy as she's going into Tamara and Vicky's room asking if Eva's in there. Clearly, Vicky's on the bed and doesn't want to talk to Brandy. She's like, we're headed to bed, we're headed to bed. But Brandy asks her, oh, well, I'm trying to talk to Eva. Vicky then stops her dead in her tracks like, ooh, I'm choking on my pill, I'm choking on my pill. She runs in the bathroom with Tamara and gets Tamara behind her to perform the Heimlich. Vicky is too much. She is too much, Taquita. All Tamara did was do this to her one time, and Vicky just magically spits the pill out. She went through that much just to not talk to Brandy. Brandy must really be annoying as fuck if Vicky had to do all that just to not talk to her. We do see, though, that it worked, and Brandy just left the room. And that is where the episode ends. Now, episode 3 was kind of a filler episode, but still, it was entertaining as fuck, and a lot went on. I'm sorry if this review is long, y'all. I tried, but there's just so much to talk about. I'll say I'm enjoying all the ladies, but my fondness for Dorinda is decreasing rapidly. Like, she's just becoming mean. Like, I hope she fixes it around episode 5, because I already saw episode 4, and whew, I cannot wait to review that one. But y'all let me know what y'all thought about these 2 episodes. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see y'all for the next episode. Bye.